You got to love it here in the city. Our heart beats stronger.
Free socks.
The NHL playoff picture is still up in the air, but here in Winnipeg, fans are confident the arena will echo with the sound of white noise again.
Free socks.
Let's go! Go, Jets, go! Winnipeg is back in the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome back to the landing strip after the Winnipeg Jets drop one to the Columbus Blue Jackets here this weekend on this back-to-back. Back home at Canada Life Center. It was nice to be back at the arena. Feels like it's been a while. Really fun night there tonight as they did their military appreciation night. Also, my mom's husband was the community services winner, so they had some nice seats in the offensive zone for this one. Great time all around, but on the ice, not so much. This was quite the interesting one. And as always, this show brought to you by the boys at Top Line Media and presented by our good friends over at From Financial. Glad to be working with them this year. Mikey, how are you doing tonight?
You don't know the willpower it took for me not to jump in with "It's been a while" when you said that there. Not bad. It was not a great night on the ice for the Winnipeg Jets. So it's a good thing that at least the in-arena stuff was okay for you there, because watching at home was a tough one to watch against one of the league's worst teams. So at least we'll have some fun here tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting moments in this one, and that first period was pretty interesting because obviously the shot chart was awfully lofty. There was another period where I felt like kind of what we were talking about in the Chicago game, where the Jets were still generating zone time, but they were doing absolutely nothing with it. Them getting to the middle of the ice continues to be a bit of an issue here. What did you think kind of unraveled for them in this one?
I think the playbook is out league-wide on how to beat the Winnipeg Jets, and it starts with taking away the middle of the ice. And they did that to a T tonight. The plan was well executed. They gave the Jets no space to work there. They backed off when the Jets had the puck along the perimeters, daring them to do something with it. So, it's we're really going to see now that they've got some time at home, some time to rest, some time to think if the coaching staff is going to make some adjustments, because we've seen it consistently now across multiple games, across multiple teams, that's how you beat the Jets, and it's effective. So, Columbus isn't a great team. That's not a good hockey team, as we've seen to start the year, and they were still able to work the game to a point where they could get those 2 power play goals and steal a win. So if we're doing that to the Columbuses of the league, I don't have a lot of hope for a 7-game series against one of the league's best teams. So it's time to make adjustments.
Yeah, and this is one of those, we talk about the neutral zone a lot with this team, and it felt like the Jets, when they would make mistakes, they would come at those blue lines, and Columbus would jump all over it. Kent Johnson obviously has the pair of goals. Even before those 2 goals, he victimized Dylan DeMello at the offensive blue line, and he victimized Neil Pionk earlier. For a guy that the team and the player only made a 1-year bet on each other, he looks like he might be taking a step. But it was one of those games where it looked like Columbus jumped all over the mistakes when they could. Obviously, the power play makes the difference for them in this one as well.
Yep.
But frustrating because as Zooch 40, who I finally know who that is, and I'm glad it was nice to have a chat today. The zone time with no chances is how they've always played, waiting for too many good chances. And at some point, they got to break that cycle, and we got to see some different looks. Like, it's interesting. Coming into this stretch, I believe it was on that technical difficulties episode, I was kind of saying, like, before going into this 4-game stretch would be the time to make mistakes, but they'll probably just stick with it. They're going to win 3 out of 4. The top line's going to put up a couple big games, and we're just going to keep cycling through here. Here was the loss in that 4. they'll probably do pretty well in the next one. Not much is gonna change, but I gotta say, I got teased again in the second period today. Nino taking a shift with Lambert and Perfetti. A look I'd like to see more of. They get two looks, two chances in this one.
Yep.
They're out there with Morrissey and Miller, which is also an interesting little twist to that shift. There's some things I want to see them try, and we see little flashes of it. We'll keep hammering through here, as I'm sure this will be looked at as a one-off, but definitely a frustrating one, especially, obviously, Kyle Connor rips it on the power play, but that top line costs them two Kent Johnson in transition.
Yep.
It's one of those nights where their mistakes catch them, and not great for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, it was a classic bad game from that top line, and we've seen that. They're the force that's going to drive a lot of the results. So unfortunately, if they're bad results, it's going to be a night that looks a lot like this. The offense was there for Kyle Connor on that power play. That's great that he's able to get a goal after a little bit of a cold run there for a bit. But yeah, 5-on-5, that line continues to be a crater defensively, and we're gonna have to see something has to change soon, I think.
Yes, and coming into this one, we see the one change. Ville Heinola comes out of the lineup. Colin Miller checks in. Let's start there. What'd you think of the switch up? What'd you think of Colin Miller? What'd you think of the third pair? Where's your head at here?
Third pair is pretty bad defensively tonight, at least on TV. It looked real rough.
Both guys at that.
Both guys. Oh yeah, no, not a. I'll quickly shout out. I think it's our friend D Labs in the chat, who says not to waste a lot of time on number 64 tonight. We get it. And it's true, so I'm not going to harp on it at all. Just the pairing in general was not great defensively. Miller had a couple looks with that big clapper of a shot, but outside of that, it wasn't great. The fact that it's Heinola coming out for Miller is both shocking and not shocking. We talked about it last episode. That is Stanley's spot on that left-hand side there when healthy, regardless. So I don't even think it's, that's just the way that they're going to go, and they're going to rotate in Miller to get him some games now. And, I didn't see anything worth, taking Heinola out the last time around. There was nothing egregious. It wasn't like it was anything, worse than anybody else out there. So, yeah, I think it's just he's part of that rotation now on guys that are going to come in and out and play some games. And as long as he is healthy, number 64 will be the left-hand side defenseman there. It's funny, most of the bottom four of the defense today played about the same amount of minutes today. Only Morrissey and Pionk. Morrissey had just under 20. He missed it by a second. And Morrissey had about 25. Everybody else was in the 16 to 17 minute mark. So, they're playing that second and third pairing pretty much equal minutes out there. And it's, it wasn't great.
Yeah, it was a tough night for that third pair. I thought, both guys struggled. Miller definitely, there was a few bobbles with the puck. One of them is when Stanley comes up with that block and hurts the inside of the leg there. It wasn't great. And I'll say this, I think part of this truly was about managing Ville Heinola coming off of this surgery, how much hockey they are playing through this stretch. Someone had texted me before yesterday's game saying, hey, just something to watch for this weekend. I believe it's planned. Heinola's going to miss Sunday. They still want to give him a push. Now we'll see where it goes from here, because it is kind of frustrating that it's between Heinola and Miller, and the coach wants size, so this is a smaller decor, and that's kind of what's prioritized. But I do think at some point we do need to see a bit of rhythm through that third pair. I mean, this is the third game in a row we're talking about different looks, not really trusting it, though clearly coaching staff didn't mind it. Everyone got kind of equal minutes. We also saw in the last 5 minutes, they load up Pionk with Morrissey for the offense, and then we saw DeMello and Fleury. Last 2 minutes, we saw Miller and Fleury. Interesting looks there, especially with the net empty. Another thing I did like was pulling the goalie with, 3:40 left.
Yep.
Gotta get aggressive there, so some things there to like, but this was a rough one where the Winnipeg Jets best players aren't their best players, and we know when their best players aren't their best players, this team struggles to score, and this team struggles to win games. I mean, top line in this one, 19 shot attempts against, 11-4. Great bounce back for the Lowry line, who outshot attempted their minutes 17-4. That's great to see. Obviously, that's something we've been talking about.
Yep.
But that top line, it's one of those games where it goes the other way on them, and 2 goals against, and there's your difference in this hockey game. Liked some of the looks from Brad Lambert, Cole Perfetti, and Vlad Nemestikov. Continue to be interested in seeing where Brad Lambert's game could go.
Yeah, I'm really hoping he's able to carve out a bit of a consistent spot here, so that when Ehlers does come back, it either forces them to keep him in the lineup and play Ehlers with him and Perfetti, or I'd be happier to see a Kyle Connor or a Nino Niederreiter or even a Gabe Vilardi on a line with them. If you can't break up Scheifele and Connor, throw Ehlers up on that line with the 2 of them. Let them stay together if that's the parameter, and maybe give Vilardi to the two younger guys, something. But yeah, I like where his game is going. I'm hoping that he'll be able to stick, because that will give the Jets some more flexibility on how they can use their forward group.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to shout out in this game, really cool seeing two super skilled hockey players in like a one-on-one situation and kind of seeing that play out. Kyle Connor, and this is the positive side of Kyle Connor killing penalties. Jumps all over that puck, kills 30 seconds on his own,
Yep.
skating it up, attacking, pressing. And what was interesting was Kyle Connor notices he can get to the middle of the ice, and he gets there quick. And watching Zach Werenski defend him, though, was like just a thing of beauty. You could see why Zach Werenski is getting all this hype on his early season start. Obviously, he's going to be teammates with Kyle Connor at the Four Nations. But Zach Werenski, like, Kyle Connor probably burns 95, 98% of the D-men in the NHL in that situation. And Zach Werenski just casually glides over with him, doesn't look panicked at all, doesn't look to make a move on Kyle Connor, just waits for Kyle Connor to try and beat him the other way. And that's when he steps up. It was watching 2 guys at their peak, just one of those cool moments at the rink. Because, yeah, it's one of those times where I think Kyle Connor on the penalty kill is going to beat most guys, but Zach Werenski on this night, just that much better in that moment. And it's 2 guys at their peak. One of those cool moments to see.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something special that you get when you're in the arena, especially because you get that bird's eye view of it. And yeah, when you get 2 master craftsmen, so to speak, plying their craft at the same time, it's really interesting. It's kind of why you love hockey. You know what I mean? You get to see that best of the best going at it. It's pretty cool.
It is indeed. And then Choice's TK goes here, and I think it should be said too. Comrie has to feel jinxed at this point, can't get any help on offense. 3 of his last 4 starts, this team gives him 1 goal. I thought he was good enough for this team to win tonight. There was that save cross crease in the second period where he comes up big on the other side. Again, I thought the collapses in front of him create some great opportunities. The other team buries. I thought he was steady until the team didn't really give him a chance.
Yeah, it's been a trend. He keeps getting the games where, you can kind of tell the Jets are off of their game. So he's been the sacrificial lamb, the sacrificial goat, however you want to call it, for a few now. So they better be buying him lunches. They better be taking him out, because they've hung him out to dry quite a few times. And I don't really put this loss on him. I don't put really the last few losses on him. He hasn't gone out there and, laid an egg to the point where the Jets are in a hole. So, yeah, as a guy who's been hard on Comrie a lot, I've kind of come around this year. He's a pretty good backup.
Like to see some of those immediate response fights. Neil Pionk gets the most generous 2-minute rough I've ever seen. I think he even landed an uppercut in that one. Comes to the defense of who was it on that one? With the Pionk fight. And then Iafallo coming to the defense and dropping his glove as well. Yeah. Good to see the team have that in them. A couple of the guys you don't always see doing it. Pionk's willing to go quite often. We know he's a rowdy one. some of those things you like to see. But I see over on YouTube, Spency
Bianca.
says,
Oh.
can we talk about the elephant in the room? So, you know what? Let's turn this show over to the chat and over the phone lines. And Spency, the floor is yours. What is the elephant in the room? Turd
Give us-
Ferguson, correct. Pionk came in for KFC, who wears the knee on that same penalty kill we were talking about, the Rorensky and him one-on-one. That is correct. Thanks, Turd.
And Spency, if you want to let us know about that elephant, it's 1-204-800-0409. 1-204-800-0409. Give us a call at the landing strip.
I see Zuch also corrects that it was KFC, that KFC Pionk stood for, which thank you to the chat on this night.
You know, Pionk has really embraced the pest role this year a lot more than in years past, I've noticed. And I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun watching him just absolutely get in the face and get under the skin of the opposing team. I've always liked that in my players. That's I'm partial to the annoying players out there. So I do like to see that from Neil Pionk.
Shout out to DLabs25 here too. Lambert being the extra attacker was nice. What did you think of that, Mikey?
Shows that
was it a player was it a player the coach is gaining confidence in? Was it a player they're looking for that first goal to get in and see what happens? What do you think there?
I think it's the first one. I think in a game where you always think you can, maybe steal a goal or two with the extra attacker, you never know what can happen. They're looking for offense. I think he's slowly gaining Arniel's confidence, especially with the comments before last game that Arniel had about Lambert and the way that it's gone in this game. Yeah, I think it was a really good sign, that they trust that he can create something for them. Oh, here we go. Hey, caller, you're on the landing strip. Hey, caller, go ahead.
Hello.
Hey, there you go.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good,
You're
how
on
are
the
you
air?
doing?
Lynham, what's going on? I think you know who this is, buddy.
Absolutely. How you doing?
Not bad, not bad. How was your Sunday?
Hey, it's been a good Sunday. Went to the game tonight. Got some shit done. Now we're here talking Jets. Can't complain. How was your Sunday?
Yeah, and what do we think of this game?
Not great, buddy. This team's struggling to create offensively. It's not fun. Not fun to watch.
You know what? It sucks that it's like a pipe dream that you think Shovel Dayoff will make a trade and maybe change something up front. Like, we've been running, I feel like, genuinely the same kind of forward structure, like same lineup kind of combo with forwards for how long now? These guys have been here. Like, Appleton, I just feel like he doesn't, is he a good player? Yeah, but he just plays straight line hockey. Like, he doesn't do he doesn't chip in offensively as much as guys can. And I know you're a Perfetti guy, but I just feel like Perfetti, he gets points, but he's kind of just slower pace. What do you think of that? You think of these guys like Ehlers, Connor, how they skate, they're fast. I just feel like Perfetti's slower with the puck, and it's just so blah, our forwards lately.
Yeah, I gotta say, before I dive into that, because there's some good points in there. Is this stretch showing you why Nick Ehlers might be valuable to this forward group?
Yeah, but it's just that's the thing. I know when he's in, he's good, and it's just I feel like we never find the line combinations. We don't have that combination in Ehlers. Yeah, I mean, and like you said, UFA this year, it's what happens when he's gone. Can Perfetti play 20 minutes a night, or I don't know off the top of my head how much Ehlers plays, but I just don't see Perfetti. I just don't see him as that player in that second line. So then it's what can you get for Perfetti? I'm there's teams that are gonna want to make trades. I don't know, get a guy that can come in and help now. What is our window? We start 17 games without a loss or whatever the heck the record was, 15-2.
Yeah.
And now we're just being Jets hockey again. We're getting complacent. I think we got to shake it up already. And Stanley,
So, hey.
you know how he is. You know how Stanley is. It's just
Oh, it's tough. We can't even do anything about the Stanley conversation. We talk about it every show, and it's like beating a dead horse at this point.
No, legit.
Um,
Legit. It's like,
I'm with you,
yeah.
and like a big thing, and this is where a lot of the Ehlers stuff comes from, is the Winnipeg Jets have tried this lineup configuration for like 3 years running. There's never been any shifts up, and the only time that this top lines looked like a good group through 20 games was when Kyle Connor actually went down last year, which I think actually gives Perfetti the type of player Perfetti could benefit playing in a second line role. Because I do think right now the mix on that second line isn't great. It is a slower pace. You're definitely right there compared to some of the burners we do have. And I do think this team does need to get quicker. And you're right, the window is this next couple of years. Like, you do have to get bold. I would expect Chevy to trade for a 2C. I mean, he's done it at every time they were in this spot. But
and I want a Ferrari for Christmas. Like every single team needs help here. It's like, how do you?
Yep.
But that's the thing. You got to trade something to get something, and it's like, how do you outbid these other teams, man? Every single team needs help up front. I feel like right now, like you look at, like you hear all those things Friedman says. Like, there's got to be 5 teams that are looking for a centerman right now.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing to find, and so is a right-handed D, and that's where it gets interesting. And you're right, you're going to have to give up value to get value. Maybe Perfetti does become available if you can get a long-term answer at the top of the blue line or in the middle of the ice on that second line. I think the league's in an interesting spot where a lot of teams are frustrated, and I want to see if there's some guys that become available that, hey, maybe you do throw a guy like that out there and try and impact this team, because this team doesn't need a win now. And I do agree that it does need a shakeup in the top 6 with another core level player. And I mean, that's my big thing with the top line is it's a 50-50 group. When they play great, hey, the Jets have a chance to win. A night like this, to go the other way, and it's like, hey, shit, we're back to square one.
Yeah. And then you go in the summer, it's like, the Chevy have the balls to offer sheet. You look at St. Louis, man, they give up minimal draft picks for 2 guys who make them better for a long-term thing. Like, it's like Chevy, like, you know how it is, man. If only me and you could get the GM out of the armchair, me and you would be wheeling and dealing, buddy.
Absolutely. You know I like to make a splash. Thanks for calling in tonight, man. You have a great rest of your Sunday.
You have a great day, Lynham. Have a good one, buddy.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later. What do you think, Mikey? Are we going to get a splash in Winnipeg this year?
We better get a splash, a trinkle, fucking hosing, something. We got to get something. They've got enough on this in this group to have a good run, to have some fun with it. If they don't bring anybody in, I would be shocked. It's hard though, right? It's hard to make a big trade. It's not an easy thing to do, especially at the deadline. Everybody wants you to overpay. Everybody wants to take advantage of the situation you're in. So I kind of get it, but at the same time, you got to be aggressive with it. So, they better. That's all I can really say is they better.
Okay, so you touch on something here that I think is going to be important, but I want to read out a few comments first.
Let's do it.
Phyllis says, Coach says Nik could be back skating sometimes this week. Obviously, this team could really use him up there right now.
God, yes.
Scott Westman says 12 years searching for the 2C. It's like trying to find the treasure of Oak Island.
That one got me.
That is pretty funny. So you say something there, and I think that's what's interesting, and I think that's what stopped this team from making big moves in the past. We know the hang-up on the Stone thing was Jack Rozovic at the time,
Yep.
and I think Chevy looks for a good trade. He makes quality trades. We always talk about feeling like the Jets came out with good value. I do wonder if he's trigger shy when it comes to making that deal that might look bad in some time, and if it's one of those things that they're a little worried about the look. But I think this is the team that needs that kind of boost at some point. Your star players are entering their 30s. It's clear that, like the caller had mentioned, Pierogi's there, that this team needs another piece to the mix in that top 6, and we've talked about that most of the year. Again, another thing I wonder, and we were playing a little fantasy hockey, me and Zuch earlier, making up a trade. We'll get there in a second. If you do get a quality center in Winnipeg, does that allow you to try switching and getting away from the Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor thing if you have a second quality C? Something I'm wondering about here.
Well, in what way would it help? Because the reason that you can't get away from them, right? The reason you can't get away from them is...
No, but we got away from him with PLD. Cal Connor put some 90-plus points playing with PLD that one year.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. So you're saying that it'd be enough of a draw that they'd be okay with that, you could do it? Yeah. Yeah, if they go out, that's going to be harder to find, right? It always is. But if you can do it and you can add another C, yeah, absolutely. That's going to be ideal.
Yeah. A couple comments in the chat based on some of this. I see Zuj40 says, agreed, Perfetti seems too peripheral and the points don't reflect what you see on the ice. I thought he was going to bury on that one look where he creates the turnover. Doesn't go in for him.
Yep.
One of those guys that does frustrate you sometimes when they aren't going in. Choices TK says, at this point, the lines need to be mixed up and can't score. Having to play max effort every night doesn't bode well down the line.
I feel like we had a lot of the same kind of Perfetti conversations with Nick Ehlers years ago, right? Not, the points don't match what he's doing on the ice. He looks like he's skating a lot and in good positions, but the points aren't there. He doesn't score. And he does good things. He's putting himself in good positions. He's getting his line mates in good positions. I just think it's a stylistic issue on that line more than anything. They just haven't found the right line mates. Now, Brad Lambert, I think, is slowly maybe going to become that line mate. I kind of hope. And if they can find a winger that suits it, I think that line could be a really fun third line to augment Adam Lowry's line as more of a second line offensive minute type thing. But yeah, I think it's too early to close the book on Cole Perfetti. I think there's still something there.
I am willing to put him on the table for a big ad like this team does need, and you might need
Yes.
to. We've talked about a few.
Like I said, there's no untouchables really.
The thing is, this all ties back to the original concept of the caller calling in, and it's that we've seen the same forward group for 3 years now. We know what the highs look like. We know what the lows look like. We know what the inconsistencies look like. Gordy Angus goes exactly where I'm thinking. Perfetti looked great with Connor and Wheeler in 2022, 2023. At some point, the organization has to stop going to the round peg, square peg, round hole of having a good third line, which had a great bounce back today, but it's been struggling the last 10 games, having a 50-50 first line, and hoping every other piece fits. At some point, you're going to have to try something new.
Yep, absolutely. All right, you ready for our next call?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Hey, caller, thanks for holding. You're on the landing strip.
Hey, it's Raul pulling in. How's it going, guys?
Good, Rahul.
Good. How's it going, Rahul?
Not too bad. Okay, you guys, I don't know what it is, but you guys are really choppy for some reason. Am I coming out good on your end?
Yep, you're coming out.
Yeah, we hear you good, man.
Okay, anyway. I didn't get a chance to watch tonight's game that much, watching the Bills and the Rams game. But I caught a and I'm sure you guys have talked about this, but what do you guys think is wrong with this offense right now? You look at the last 5 games, they have 10 goals, right? And 3 of those games was Buffalo, Chicago, and Columbus. And from what I'm seeing, I think they hit 30 shots on goal once in those 5 games. So I know missing Ehlers is a big deal. Scheifele, even at 75%, to score 8 goals against Buffalo, Chicago, and Columbus. I was looking at this stretch. If you remember, they beat San Jose 8-3 at the beginning of the year, right? In the couple games before that, I think they had 2 or 3 goals combined. So I was looking at this stretch as sort of a get-right stretch for the offense. But, didn't really see that. And, to me, they're just missing speed a lot on just with the puck rush opportunities. I think they're missing speed. And I know you're talking about Perfetti, but, some of the chances, tonight, that chance that Velarde set up, that's a Sports Center top 10 chance right there. And you got to bury that. And he had another one, was it a couple games ago? So, I know people saying, oh, you can't score. I mean, guys playing top 6, I think, how many 5-on-5 goals does he have this year? I think it's 2. So
2, I think.
And how many does Mason Appleton have? You know what I mean? So I think that's why people get on Perfetti a bit. You're a top 6er. You should be scoring. And, you get, Appleton and Nino have more goals than you. So that's just my thoughts, but just want to get your guys' reactions to that.
Yeah, hey, on Perfetti, you're right. He's got to bury at some point, and it's been long stretches of goals in between, and I get the frustration. I like to see that he had 2 good looks today, but yeah, you want to see one of those go in the back of the net, especially in a stretch where the team's not scoring. On the team not scoring, you nail it when they're not shooting enough. What I'm kind of seeing is they seem to be passing themselves out of scoring chances and out of shooting chances. That's kind of frustrating me, seeing a guy have a look from the middle of the ice and they're passing it outwards, and then the other team's just jumping all over that guy and they get nothing out of it. They're just spending so much time on the outside, and even when they get inside, they're not shooting the puck at the net. They're not getting enough bodies to net. And I think you're right. This stretch should have been a get-right stretch, and you still leave it with questions around that offense. At some point, something needs a spark, and yeah, missing Nik Ehlers and missing the speed. This is a team that does look slower in games, especially through transition. Kent Johnson absolutely burns them with speed on this night for a few chances the other way. I don't know, man. It's one of those things, right? When we acquired Monahan to Foley, we're talking about how the team got slower. This team still does need an injection of speed. You hope that Lambert could figure out some of the small things, because he's allowed them to create some more speed through the neutral zone. But yeah, offensively, I just think they're spending too much time in the perimeter. They're not getting to the middle of the ice, and even when they are, they're passing their way out of it.
Yep, absolutely. It's for a team that wants to play with speed, that talks about speed as their identity, that brings it up in the media and stuff. Without Nik Ehlers, who are really the speedy players, right? You got a couple guys that you can really point to that can play with the puck and with speed. So yeah, Ehlers is a big loss to that offense. You ready for another call?
Yeah, let's go to it.
Right on. Hi, caller. Thanks for holding. You're on the landing strip.
Yes, hello. This is Glenn from Glendale calling in. I just wanted to make a comment about Perfetti's play recently. I think he's a very talented player, but I just think he needs maybe like a fat camp. He just seems a little out of shape there, losing some battles. He's winning a bit, but he seems to be losing more than he wins. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Hey, I think that's fair. He's someone that gets involved in the battles, and when they don't go his way, it's not a great look, especially with his size. Again, he's kind of the talk of the town tonight, so it's a guy we're hoping starts producing more offensively. Liked a couple of those looks. You want one of them to go in the back of net, but yeah, we need this top 6 to get going, and you need Cole Perfetti to start putting adding some offense to this team's lineup here.
Well, yeah, that's a fair point too. It's like I just think he needs to take that training a little serious. When he comes in, he looks like he has a little bit of baby fat on him, right? Like it just like he needs to lose a little weight and get the boots going a little bit, because he's a talented player, but it's just maybe take it a little more serious, take your training a little more serious here,
It's interesting because the talk from all the teammates and stuff was that he had a big camp and he was coming in great shape. So it's one of those things. It's hard. I don't know if that's the issue or not.
Come on, look at that body. Come on. You say you can't shed 10 pounds there, turn it into muscle? Come on.
Maybe he put on a little too much muscle this year. I haven't seen him shirtless or anything, man. It's something I can't comment on. If you want to DM me a pic, hey, I just don't have anything to really go off of here.
All right there, Nick. This is Glenn from Glendale calling in. Pleasure talking to you.
Hey, thanks for the call, Glenn. Appreciate it.
Weird things happening in Glendale tonight. All right.
B. Sarge kind of says, too, the team looks lost without 27, and this is a team. You're seeing it, and this is the thing when we talk about it, there's a big segment that is ready for Nik Ehlers to walk out of town. You have a top line that is a below-average top line in the NHL. It doesn't win its minutes on most of its nights. You have a third line that's the best third line in the NHL, as they say, who, when they go dry, they're going dry for Christmas and the New Year. I mean, somehow they quit during the peak seasons of when you want to be getting when you're not wanting to be dry. And this is what it looks like without Nik Ehlers. offensively
Yeah.
and the speed he brings.
5-on-5 power play. It's a big loss just because of the, like I said, for a team that wants the identity to be speed, they're going to need some more players that bring it because it's been a glaring hole without Nick Ehlers.
Zooch40 says a Brady Kachuk would sure look nice in place of Perfetti and is the kind of guy I'd love to have for playoffs. Hey, if names like that start becoming available, of course a guy like Cole Perfetti is going to be on the trade market.
Oh, yeah.
A fork. And it's the whole trend I'm talking about, right? Like there's so many teams that are going to be frustrated with their cores and lack of progress. The Winnipeg Jets are in a pretty good spot with a pretty good prospect pool. They have salary cap space. They have good young players on the roster. They'll be able to make something happen. Let's see where the trade market goes. Obviously, a frustrating stretch, continuing to struggle to create any quality offense, and that's kind of their biggest problem.
Yeah. And it's not just Ehlers. I think losing Sandberg at the same time, which then hampers the way that Pionk is able to impact the game, is, it's compounding, right? You're getting to see both of those things happen at the same time, and it's not a good look. It's kind of interesting because we started the year saying, what do the Jets need more? Another addition to the second line or another top 4 defenseman. And now we lost both of those things essentially at the same time. So we've been able to see really where the depth is on the team. It's kind of interesting.
It is indeed. Let's go into the chat here. Terry Ferguson says we're coming back to Fett's discussions I brought up the other night, Nick. It's getting tough to defend. We need more. And hey, I think everybody is open season when you struggle to produce offensively at 5-on-5 as much as this team has this year. More than fair, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
More than fair.
Donnie Fester over on Twitch. Donnie here. Why the hell is 14 not in the lineup against the Blue Jackets? This team is going to be a 500 hockey team by February 1st with coaching decisions like this. Love the show. Thank you, Donnie. And so I just we joked early on when the Jets were on the big run that they could go 500 the rest of the way and still make the playoffs. And now they're trying to do that. He's right. They're gonna need to pick it up soon. There needs to be adjustments.
I talked about it earlier. I believe that they were giving Heinola some time with the back-to-back 3 and 4 nights, still working his way back from missing so much time. We'll see where that goes and how real that is. But that's I'll give them credit or the benefit of the doubt on that one. Phyllis says yes, two big pieces missing for sure. Nobody else does what Nick and Sammy do, and you're definitely seeing what this team looks like without them. Though I was having a conversation with my buddy Halden the other day, and it was just like, yes, those are 2 massive pieces, especially with how this team is built. But also, we're talking about this team being a potential Stanley Cup team, and that's kind of the expectation. That's the goal, especially with the early start. And you lose 2 players, and it's all of a sudden this much. It gets this tough in this much of a stretch. I think that's. I do think that's a bit of a concern, and shows just how much this roster still needs a bit more. You're seeing other teams get through some tough stretches, and I think just how much this is dried up. This team's going to need a push. It's going to need that big swing offensively, like our first caller of the night brought up.
It might need 2. It might need 2 big swings. You know what I mean? It could get to that point where it's not just, a big ad up front or a big ad on the back end. They may need to try to find something that works out on both.
And I'm really, really ready to see Nino Niederreiter playing within this top 6. I think it was a good night for that Lowry line, but again, you can't build a team through a third line. This team needs as much offense as they can find right now, and I think you got to get him in there with either Scheifele's group or Lambert and Perfetti and try and give the top 6 skill group a bit of a boost without Nick Ehlers here.
Yeah, 100%. You either need to get Nino off that line, or they need to take Appleton off and move that line up into that top 6 role and bring down whoever, Connor, anybody else. Just they need to work something out where, Nino needs to be on the ice more and in those offensive situations because he's rolling right now. And if they're going to capitalize on somebody with momentum at the moment, you have it right there. It's in front of you. But that's going to take some creative lineup maneuvering, and we haven't seen that outside of, hey, we're going to try this for 30 minutes in a game, and then it's right back to Old Faithful.
Comes back. Everything about the frustrations with this forward group comes back to the core principle that the first line is locked into place, the third line is locked into place, and you're trying to make the rest of the pieces work. And right now, you don't know if it's going to be a good night or a bad night from the first group. The Lowry line now had a spark tonight. We'll see if they can build off of that. The second line's been a rotating cast. It's one of those things at some point to unlock this, you might have to use your depth another way. And I do think this team could get more offensively out of Nino Niederreiter moving up to help one of the groups in the top 6 right now. We probably won't see it. Even you could put Vlad with Lowry and Apples. You could put Iafallo there, who you could trust defensively, and we know that's what that line's used most to do. Yep. He had a nifty play today in the neutral zone with the one-handed strip through transition turned into the toe drag. That was pretty impressive to see in person. Yeah. There's so many different avenues you could try. And at some point, I think you got to see what you can do. That's not this, where you're 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 1 step back, not generating offense, which has been, it's funny because they were one of the teams scoring the most goals, but if you looked at their underlyings, they've consistently been not generating enough at 5-on-5, and they were out shooting it. You're seeing the tough slog now when the regression curve hits, and what it means when you're not getting to the middle of the ice and creating from the tough zones. Yeah. They're just not doing it.
They just can't right now. And it's frustrating because, teams know that. They can work on clogging up the center of the ice and just take that away from the Jets. So, for a team that needs offense and a team that needs, some more skating and a team that needs, transition, there are lineup and roster decisions that you feel like could be made that would help in that, in that pursuit. But I'm starting to wonder if we're really going to see any of those kind of creative choices without injury forcing it.
Okay, so Matt Hyman brings up an interesting point. I want to address people that see this a different way a little bit, and I think this is an interesting thing to bring up here. Some people don't want to disrupt the room with an addition, bring in some grit or another scorer, ? I think any ad, if you're bringing in and you're the Winnipeg Jets, it has to impact the top 6 because you're going to get to the root of the problem, which is not having enough juice within the 6 guys you have up there. And it's also going to add depth to your lineup by Vlad Nemestikov bumping down to the 3rd or 4th line. It's an addition all the way through it. So you want to get a guy higher up the lineup that pushes everybody down a peg and gives you more depth, more quality looks throughout your lineup. And I'd say this, if you're someone that isn't interested in making an addition, that would tell me you're someone that's not interested in the Winnipeg Jets actually being able to compete in the NHL with the best of the best come the playoff time. I mean, it's fun to love the team and enjoy the guys that are here, but there's certain levels you have to get to in order to get through the playoffs. And realistically, the way this team generates at 5-on-5, the way this lineup's constructed, and the way this decor looks right now, outside of goaltending, this team is not a team that would do that. So that's why you have those type of conversations. That's why you would want to bring in extra help. It's why all the best teams are looking for the best pieces to help them get over at the deadline. And you should always be looking for talent to try and push your team to another level. And this team is one of those teams that needs it. So are a lot of teams in the NHL this year. It's an interesting year. It's a really, really interesting year. And it's one of those years that you got to be willing to spend a little bit. It could make the difference with how many teams have their own issues going on.
And I think you would kind of maybe have to ask yourself, what is it about the environment that this team is building that a new person can't come in and feel welcomed and be part of the group and want to pull towards winning a Stanley Cup? That somebody coming in is an outsider that is going to cause a problem? I think that would be, if that's the case for any team, not the Jets, just literally on any team in the league. I think you would want to take a second and stop and look at that and go, hey, are we fostering a winning environment, or are we, building a country club where people are having a tough time, right? So, yeah. I think we got another call. Hey, caller, thanks for holding. You're on the landing strip.
Hi. Hey, Nick. Bill from Transcona here.
Hey, Bill.
How's it going, Bill?
Oh, not so good after that one. I didn't take them to be the kind of team that would drop a game to Columbus,
Mm-hmm. You're surprised, Bill. It's been a rough stretch here the last little bit.
Nick, buddy, I'm having a little trouble hearing you on the phone here. Maybe get Mikey to fix that, and I'll call you back.
Okay, sounds good, Bill. We'll talk to you shortly here. All right, moving back to the chat here, because I see Julian over on YouTube had some interesting thoughts here. Thoughts that I agree with, so of course I find them interesting. The first line is just not good at 5-on-5 at all. The resistance to change is what's going to hold this team back. Obviously, something I hammer home about as much as possible. Phyllis talks about the idea of Barron with Lowry. It's a type of look you can go to. We've seen the familiarity there before. Rahul says, get Brady Tkachuk here, send them Perfetti first and Heinola. And the interesting thing is I don't think that's enough to get them to move the captain with that much term. But I like where your head's going.
Yep, love it as the return. I don't know if they'll be happy with it, but I'll make that deal.
I also got to go on the record, and I think Brady Tkachuk's a great player. But I also do wonder a little bit about the family and the head case a little bit, because when you start beefing with Claude Giroux, I have some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we got another caller.
Hello?
Hi, caller. Thanks for holding. You're on the landing strip.
Oh, awesome. I'm on the landing strip. Perfect. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Let's talk.
Cool. Let's rip it. Well, first of all, I see you guys on Twitter a lot. Love your content. Keep up the great work. I think that one of the main takeaways I've taken from, not just this season, from the past, is if I had to pick for Chevy to put all of his eggs in one basket, it would be a right-handed defenseman, specifically Rasmus Andersson. I think when we look at the forwards, we know, for example, Ehlers and Scheifele work really well together. It's just they never play them, and also Scheifele likes playing with Kyle Connor. I think we know that Perfetti being the best passer on the team and Kyle Connor having one of the best shots in the league will make it work. And I think that Brad Lambert brings the speed that we would need come playoff time. So I understand that while we definitely need both, I do think that if I had to pick one, going all in on Rasmus Andersson would be important.
Hey, man, I appreciate the love at the beginning there, and I really agree with a lot of your thoughts here. It's an interesting debate, and I was just having it actually with Zooch40 in the chat earlier today, where obviously I think in a perfect world, you're getting a 2C and you're getting a long-term right-handed D to finally answer that hole that's been a problem since Buff and Trouba left town. And I look at it as Connor Hellebuck's the franchise player, and I want to isolate him as much as possible. And we've seen how bad this team looks defensively without just a Sandberg injury. Never mind if, God forbid, something happened to Morrissey. I would kind of look at this deadline and try and get both, but in the sense I would be looking to spend my eggs, my big eggs, on a D-man with term. I love the idea of Rasmus Andersson. If they ever put Mackenzie Weegar on the phone or on the block, I'm going all in there out of Calgary as well. And then I would look at the rental market for a center where, the cost will still be expensive, but not as much as what you're throwing towards the D. Because I do think, big picture, they do need both. But I think you're also right that this team is hampering themselves in what they need at the deadline because they're not going to other options and going to different lineup constructions, going to Ehlers and Scheifele, who we know plays in the top 10 level first line in the NHL compared to this below average version. We don't know what an Adam Lowry, Cole Perfetti, and Kyle Connor might do as a second line, or Nino in there somewhere. And like, there's just different avenues we don't know enough about this team offensively because this team refuses to go there. And that's what's frustrating because it makes you actually spend more assets every single year to address a problem that might not actually need addressing.
And when they're actually trying other avenues, it's just playing Logan Stanley every freaking game. Well, we know he's bad. But, yeah, I agree with you that Connor Hellebuck is by far just like, there will never be anyone better to wear a Winnipeg Jets jersey, and obviously the best goaltender in the league. And I think because of that, if you can ice a decor where you either have Morrissey with Anderson or you put Pionk up there and then you have Sandberg with possibly Rasmus Anderson, that is a top four that I would say is elite or close to it.
It would be the closest thing we've seen to that 17-18 version. Not quite to that level, but it would definitely have this team in a much better chance. All of a sudden, you have guys like DeMello or Miller playing on your third right D spot. Then you're going to have a rotation of different left-handed guys. Rasmus Anderson and Sandberg might become a really scary defensive line to play against. I'm intrigued. I'm definitely here with you on this. Turd Ferguson over on YouTube says 1.5 years to convince Anderson to re-sign if it's him. Chevy's been pretty good at getting guys to stay as well.
Yeah, I agree. I could see his comment, and I think we have to be selective. Where obviously, if we're pulling guys from like America, they're obviously not going to want to stay. But Calgary is that interesting market where he's played in Canada his whole life, and he's European. So I actually do think you have a decent chance of re-signing him.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I'm very intrigued by that possibility. And the nice thing there too is you have them at an affordable rate, just over $4 million this year and next year. It allows you to still actually go make other ads with where the Jets cap situation is too. So no, it's a great great spot to be in here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, you guys keep up the great work, and hopefully we bounce back and we stop regressing. That'd be nice.
Hey, we're right there with you. I'm hoping so as well. Thanks for calling in tonight. Thanks for putting in the time with our content. We really appreciate hearing from you.
No worries. Take care. Have a great one, guys.
You too. What's your thoughts there, Mikey?
Yeah, we've I've felt like a vulture circling the Calgary Flames since the beginning of the season, waiting to see when they're gonna kind of burn out and we can go and start taking pieces off of that. Whether it's Anderson, whether it's Mackenzie Weegar, I'd be happy really with either of those guys coming back into trade for the Jets. What do you think it would cost though? What do you think Calgary's going to be wanting to get back in a trade like that?
I would guess a young roster player and some type of prospect, especially with the term attached.
Yeah. So really, that's right. Like that's the price you're going to have to pay to make that kind of ad. I think that's you do it. I think if the opportunity is there, if Calgary is willing to make that deal with you for either of those guys, I say you jump all over it.
Yeah, I say so as well. They've had a good start. We'll see where that team continues to go, but they continue to be one of my favorite potential landing spots for the big trade as well. Mark M throws out Kachuk's mom is from River Heights as throwing it in there. Gordy Angus makes a point that has been a common trend for us to discuss. Says 55 rules this team with an iron fist, and I don't understand it. Look at the Canucks, for example. Tocchet switches lines when he needs to and never puts players before the team and the organization. And it is frustrating, right? Like the fact that this many years in a row of trying the exact same formula and just hoping that something goes different. Like, we're at the point where Nick Ehlers is going to walk out this summer, and him and Mark Scheifele, outside of that 18-game stretch or whatever it was last year, have not had a consistent run together, and they look like a top 10 line in the NHL. And we're just not going to see it because, for whatever reason, it's not in the cards.
Nope, it's relationships versus results, and in this instance, that's relationship wins. I can't explain it. It's just what it is. Yeah.
Choices TK says first Perfetti and Barlow would be an example of an ask for one of those Calgary defensemen, and I think that is right around exactly where it would be.
Yep, and it would hurt, but I do it.
Okay, I like this framework for why the Winnipeg Jets should add to like the Matt Hyman comment earlier in the show. and why people should get comfortable with the idea of trading top prospects for impact players now. It's over on the Twitch chat. Mike F says, I think ownership is fine with the status quo, but 44 and 37 are top players, underpaid, and not by a little. I wonder how they think. Choices TK says, team has a Hall of Fame goaltender and a once-in-a-lifetime player, and it sure looks like they're going to squander it. Zuge 40, and this is the framework I think people should wrap their heads around, says they're squandering that Hall of Fame goalie by not going after some top players to try and put this team over. At some point, given what Connor Hellebuck's meant to this organization, I think you owe it to him to put your best foot forward and give this guy a chance to put a banner in your arena.
Yeah.
I know the playoff success hasn't been there, and it's been the biggest difference between him and Shesterkin at this point. Now go give him a roster that has a real chance, and we're going to be talking about him like we're talking about King Hank, who never got a real opportunity and dragged dead body Rangers after dead body Rangers teams to the first and second round.
Yep, it'll be a travesty on the same level as Henrik Lundqvist not actually getting there after when you look back at that career. And it might be worse when you get to the end of Connor Hellebuck's career with how far he could be. They have to do it. If you go out and you add a guy like Anderson and you play him on a line with Sandberg, Connor Hellebuck may go buy the GM a new fucking car at that point. He'll be so happy. You know what I mean? Like, give him that support. Give him that elite shutdown, D in front of him that he can go out and steal you those games in the playoffs because he's not having to do it every night in the regular season. It's time. It's time they push the chips in. It's time to go for it. I don't know when else you do it unless you just go, well, then this core's never going to get one.
So I see it buzzing over on YouTube when talking about ads. There was a false rumor on Twitter earlier about the idea of Dylan Larkin becoming available and being frustrated with the lack of success in Detroit. And it's something, obviously it was bristled down. It wasn't real. It was denied. But it is one of those teams, again, that I think you wait and see what they decide to do. They're not taking this step they wanted. Now, that's a home run swing that would answer so many questions about this team the rest of this window. He's got a full no trade clause. You'd likely need Hellebuck and Connor to get in his ear. That's the type of home run swing. If you could find it, you get it. But that also was a fake rumor. So I just wanted to put that out there as well.
Yeah, two things can be true. It's a fake rumor, which it is. It was admitted. It was, shown. But also, who knows? He might be frustrated with the way things are going there. It hasn't been smooth sailing, so to speak, for the Red Wings. So you never know. Crazy things have happened. If you can go out and get a player like that, like you said, it would take a couple of those guys sitting them down and being like, "Hey, man, like let's go win a couple cups here." But that's exactly the type of ad that breaks the mold, that changes the entire game for the Jets.
T. Konapali adds on to the Hellebuck thing by saying they're wasting JMO's best years not getting him a real partner, and I think that's a fair framework to look at it within as well. Couple of things in YouTube I think are interesting talking points. Let's get to a few of them. T. Konapali also says, Nick, with Trouba there, will Gudas become available? So California in the middle of January, February doesn't look like the cozy vacation drop in, play a shitty team, because you're going to be dealing with both Gudas and Trouba for the foreseeable future. The one thing about Gudas, guy I would love to acquire, I like the name thrown out. I'm pretty positive the last couple deadlines it's been reported he has all of the Canadian teams on his no trade clause. He has no interest in coming to Canada. I'll try and find that, but I'm pretty positive when it comes to Gudas. I also wouldn't be surprised if Anaheim tries to eat some money and turn Trouba into more valuable assets, either at this deadline or the next. So we'll see. Gudas is their captain. Full no trade clause. I don't see that as viable.
So yeah, in an interview last August 2023, Radko Gudas said himself that he received offers from Calgary and Edmonton, Toronto, but he doesn't want to play in Canada.
Yeah. So Gudas is a no-go. Harjivan Parwana says, would Def trade Prevedi for Anderson, especially if re-signing was a viable option? And I do think with the frustration on the market, those type of trade conversations will get louder and louder as we reach the trade deadline, safe to say. Matt Hyman has an interesting question, and I have a theory on it. I'll shoot it to you though first, Mikey. I wish we actually knew how many players is Chevy inquiring about. Is he looking? Some people think Chevy is not proactive at all. What's the truth? Mikey, what's your theory there if you have one? Because I do have a theory on this.
I can guarantee you that they are looking. They are constantly looking. The pro scouts are out scouting across the league. Chevy himself has been at game scouting as well. They are doing it. I know I love the the Chevy at the lake memes and stuff. It's but at the end of the day, like they are still running an NHL franchise, and I can say with certainty that those things do happen. There are scouts coming into the Jets and the Moose games constantly as well. So yeah, I can say for certainty that is absolutely happening. Now the difference is how serious do the conversations between GMs get when it comes to trades and where things go from there. There you can always have some speculation because it's really hard to know what those things are unless one of those two GMs leaks something out to their favorite TSN insider. So, that's always kind of hard to say. But in terms of like going out looking for guys, scouting, trying to put together like a list of what's going to improve the team, they are doing it. Yeah.
So my theory here is, and yeah, I think the Winnipeg Jets are always looking. And I actually, in my heart of hearts, believe that the Winnipeg Jets would love to go big name swinging because I think it would make an impact in this market. And especially with where the season seats are, it's the one thing they haven't been able to pull off. And I think it would generate business in a way that would surprise people, and they just haven't been able to get a seat at the table, is my personal theory. I believe they're out there looking. Nick Kypreos had them linked to Jacob Trouba, which is interesting and tells you Chevy's at least looking for defensemen, likely someone that could play with some physicality is what that would read into it for me. The thing with Chevy, and I've talked about this on a couple podcasts this year, he's someone that's patient. He's someone that doesn't want to get beat in a deal, and I think that's what probably stops the Winnipeg Jets from beating or making bigger trades is the perception aspect of the trade. I don't think the Winnipeg Jets want to risk looking bad on a trade. And we've seen Kevin Cheveldayoff make some really good trades with his back against the wall. I wish we saw the confidence of the organization making the forward-thinking trade, the big one early rather than waiting. And maybe we see that this year. At some point, it's got to come. And to Gordy Angus's point, I do think this is an interesting conversation, and I think part of it is temporary. Nothing makes sense about where the team is supposed to be. Are they contenders or are they not? Helly and Schaefer locked down, and we traded for Monahan and Toffoli. But this year, it's about the young guys. I only think it's about the young guys right now because of how the two big impact injuries. Once Ehlers is back up, I'm not sure what happens with Lambert. Once Sandberg's back, I don't think you'll be seeing them testing Stanley Hainel out much longer. I think this is a product of where they're at right now, and I fully expect that this team is going to make multiple ads and trying to compete this year. If you ask me right now, I don't think they're either contenders or I think they're one of those teams right in the middle where I kind of expected it to be this year where they're going to be a playoff team with this current roster. They'd likely be a first round out, and that's why adding at the deadline needs to be impact. But I wouldn't have them as a cup contender as we talk here today.
Yeah, not without some extra help. Even with the injuries accounted for, it's still not quite enough to be a top team quite yet. But like you said, if we can find some of that extra help, start pushing guys down in the roster, you get that domino effect real nice, and you get those positive matchups. All of a sudden, you're deep into the playoffs and looking at a banner.
And I like exactly how Choices TK puts this over on Twitch. I think this sums up the theory within the Jets organization well. We'll see if that changes anytime soon. Jets are too conservative, can't be afraid to fail. Quote from the movie Rounders: "You can't lose what you don't put in the middle, but you can't win much either." And I think that's a great quote to kind of summarize where this team kind of falls when it comes to making that big of a swing.
Yep, absolutely. they value their guys. They value their picks. They truly believe that their guys are going to work out in the roles that they've drafted them in the roles that they've tried to develop them in. So sometimes you have to cut bait, though. Sometimes you need to kind of realize that, somebody maybe that, you drafted in the first round isn't going to play up to other first round caliber talent. That just happens sometimes. We hear about it on every single broadcast that we watch in a game. On the, doesn't matter which team the Jets are playing against. You'll hear so-and-so was a waiver pickup by X team. They're a former first round pick. You hear it all the time because that shit just happens. Sometimes you miss on a guy. And I think the Jets' issue is that they don't believe that they've missed. They kind of keep pushing at it until it's a little bit too late, and then that value league-wide isn't where it was at a certain point, right? So it's the conservativeness, and I think it's that steadfast belief in their own guys can be a little hindering sometimes.
Yeah, I fully expect he's going to make some trades and fill some holes. Now we'll see what the impact level is. Big news drops as we get towards the end of this stream here tonight. Juan Soto to the New York Mets.
Whoa.
He is not a Red Sox. He's not a Yankee. I never believed he was going to be a Jay this time around. I'll take it. 15 years, $765 million. Biggest reported deal in baseball. Though we know the present day value is going to be much less, and there's going to be big time deferrals in there.
Yeah.
He goes, Steve Cohen gets his guy.
Right on. It's not the Yankees. I'm happy.
Oh, yeah. Not the Yankees, not the Red Sox. I was terrified about the Red Sox. I'll take it. Hey, Lindor and Soto is a pretty cool combination of players to get to cheer for if you're a Mets fan, too.
Yeah,
actually,
no doubt.
That's really cool. But yeah, let's get out of here. Let's do, I guess, the 3 stars in this one, if there's enough excitement for the 3 stars. And let's get out of here.
Alrighty, 3 stars. Got a quick one tonight. So 3rd star, Kyle Connor. I like goals. I always like goals. I'm always happy to see Kyle Connor score a goal. So I'm going to give it to Connor, even though the line was absolutely atrocious. 2nd star, Dean Evanson for that game plan to shut the Jets down tonight. It was good. He coached a good game. They did what they had to do to make the Jets, play right into their hands. So I'll give him the 2nd star. And the number 1 star, all of the bus, Uber, and Lyft drivers and taxi drivers in the city of Winnipeg who brought people to and from the game in that freaking blizzard that's out there. And so, they got a whole bunch of people home safe and sound. So shout out to them. They're my number 1 star because it was crazy.
Yes, thank you, Jordan, for the ride home. Mikey, shout out to you. Spency says that's an amazing banner for the 3 stars. Like where Zuch 40
Thank you, Spencer.
is going with the 3 stars tonight. Kent Johnson, 1st star, and I would agree with him. He stood out to me at the arena tonight. That guy's got some burners to go, and he created a lot of offense for the Blue Jackets on this one.
Yeah.
He also says 2nd star cameraman for the KFC sign after the KC goal. Didn't get to see that. Was that a thing today, Mikey?
Yeah, it was really good. They zoomed in on the KFC logo after his goal. It was perfect.
And he's given us the 3rd star, Mikey and Nik, for the podcast. We appreciate the love. I had seen someone earlier on YouTube had jumped over and was impressed to see there was 2 concurrent Jet shows going on, and we appreciate you stopping in. Who am I going to go? You know what? I'm going to go the Winnipeg Jets in-game experience for Military Night. I thought it was one of those nights that was well done. The band was good. Good anthem. We'll go there. 2nd star of the game, I'm going to go Josh Morrissey. Quietly, one of those games where Josh was trying to will something to go. Didn't happen on this night. And then I'm going to go 1st star. Don't normally do it, but Ken Johnson was the guy wowing me as I left the arena tonight. We're going to give it to a Columbus Blue Jacket. Ken Johnson, number 1 star in this one for me. Honorable mention. Again, I thought this was a quality start from Eric Comrie. and
Yes.
it got no run support again.
No support. The poor man. They got to buy him something. He needs a gift at the end of the year for all the times they hung him out to dry. A new set of laundry machines or something.
We shall, and Jordan Voth, we will get to that question some point during this week. We got more podcasts to come. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, share with friends. We appreciate talking to you all. We appreciate all the phone calls today. Bill Belmont's back next game. We'll see you then.
Absolutely. Remember, everybody, tell two friends to tell two friends. Rate, review, and remember, the landing strip's the best spot for Winnipeg Jets post-game shows. Good night.
Comrie needs a Juan's photos to provide run support. I like it.